Hi, this is Martin Truther. I'm here at the University of Oregon Art Museum courtyard, where I used to come 40 years ago before I would have final exams and just collect my thoughts and calm down before going into an hour and a half long test in calculus or physics. I would bring my two sharpened Ticonderoga #2 pencils and a spare battery for my Texas Instruments red LED calculator of the time. And we're here August 23rd, 2024, awaiting Kennedy's decision tomorrow as to whether or not he would consider joining the Trump campaign or bowing out of the race for the presidency and endorsing Trump in some. That's a possibility that seems to be on the table. Many of us have very strong feelings about that. I know that I was attracted to the Kennedy campaign following Robert Kennedy Jr. since about 2005, when his articles Deadly Immunity and Was the 2004 Presidential Race Stolen appeared in Rolling Stone, the magazine. And I knew that he was a champion of the truth at the time. I'd been studying election irregularities in some depth for several weeks and saw that he was on the right track and that he was somebody in the public sphere who could be trusted to speak about important issues, whereas most could not. He's stood as a champion of truth in many fields. He's looked at the link of cell phone radiation to cancer. He's tried to alert the public about the existence of bioweapons and bioweapons development programs run by the state. He's talked about vaccine harms, which has cost him a great deal politically, a lot of political capital. He's talked about COVID mismanagement. Especially, he has also talked about toxins in our water and pollution in the air. He's open to considering the links between SSRI medications and mass shootings. He's also tried to alert the public to the effects of endocrine disruptors in our environment. All of these issues tend to be swept under the rug by the establishment, and Kennedy's willingness to at least mention them is heroic in the age that we live in. So my dedication is truth, and when Kennedy announced his candidacy for the presidency, I jumped on because I felt that here is a candidate who exemplifies the commitment to truth that I hold dear in my heart. My dedication to truth, as you might guess from my screen name of Martin Truther, is fairly profound. I would consider it almost a religious conviction. Gandhi said that there is no God higher than truth. The Kundalini yoga practitioners talk about, they use the phrase Sat Nam, which in Sanskrit means truth is my identity, or truth is my name, and connotes a sense of identification and allegiance primarily to truth in one's life. Many of the religious traditions hold the practices of witnessing and testifying as some of the most sacred things people can do. And even though my own career was in computer software, my family goes back generations within the ministry, so my sense of a religious connection to this path of being in search of truth is palpable. Things that I've done for the campaign: I've collected some signatures, not as many as I initially hoped to. I've done some coordinating and organizing. I have a stress-related disability that prevents me from putting in as many hours as I would have liked to. And then also in June, I had a bicycling accident while I was riding to a Kennedy event and have been recuperating for several weeks now. So my participation was somewhat limited by that. most of my pro-Kennedy efforts have been online, in social media, particularly on Twitter or X, as it's now called. And I did not actually sign the volunteer agreement with the campaign because it did limit one's free speech a little bit. And I hold my ability to say whatever I feel is important very dear, and so I wouldn't do that. But I did everything that I could under those conditions for the campaign. So that said, the prospect of the campaign switching over to Trump is odious to me. I think many followers of Trump's are good, sincere, and honest people. And they're just trying to get by in the economy that we have today and the social conditions we have today. Trump, however, fooled us when he offered the vaccine advisor position to Kennedy and then withdrew it after receiving a $1 million donation from Pfizer to cover the expenses of his inauguration party in 2017. I think Trump also, the proverb, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, comes to mind. I don't think he can be trusted to follow through on any commitments he would make before the election. And many psychologists have determined that Donald Trump is a malignant narcissist. The Washington Post documented over 30,000 lies attributed to Donald Trump during his 4-year administration. So I cannot, as one who is committed to truth, follow a campaign transitioning from Robert Kennedy to Donald Trump. I consider myself to be on the train of truth, and I think if Kennedy wants to ally with Trump, that in a very real sense, he's disembarking from the train and going out in a new direction. So I know that my commitment is to truth, and I will continue working to reveal truths in whatever way I can, in or out of the campaign. It's particularly hard for people, though, who have identified personally with a leader. I learned with the 2 Bernie campaigns in 2016 and 2020 not to put my allegiance and hope all on a person, because human beings are flawed. I know I'm flawed. Bernie's a wonderful human being, as is Robert Kennedy Jr. But nobody is perfect. And by making my allegiance to truth itself rather than to an individual. So in summary, I think we should all avoid following charismatic leaders and establishing cults of personality, because such movements will fail when the individual fails. And we need to build a movement that is strong and independent of any one individual. So keep fighting for the truth, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Each human is the result of unnumbered eons of selection. We have all had much the same essential endowment. The tremendous accumulated impulses of countless past generations sweep on like a tide, insensible to the microscopic ripples of individual human experience. This tide sweeps through us all. Under right conditions of individual development, it makes its powers fully manifest. Under wrong conditions, it is held back in one generation, only to burst forth more magnificently, perhaps, in the next. The power is always the same. The manifestation depends on the conditions.
In closing, when I listened to that quote by Prince Lucian Campbell from 100 years ago or more, I can't help but think of the generational changes that the Kennedy family has been iconic of, from the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy Sr. in the 60s, through Ted's career in the Senate in the 80s, and today, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running for president. My hope has been and continues to be that Robert Kennedy Jr. represents a bursting forth of manifestation under right conditions, even though we are under very difficult conditions right now. And I think that the 60s held us back, have been holding us back as a nation living in trauma for decades now. So I will continue to be working for that bursting forth, the tide coming in that Campbell spoke of. And you can assume that that will be on the final exam if you want. Have a wonderful time. Make a wish.